Hello and welcome. This is Katie. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm excited to be back with another project for Maker Forte, and today we are using the iron off resist technique. Super simple technique. You basically just do some embossing with clear embossing powder, smush on your ink, and then you iron it off. So the products I'm going to use is the new Silhouette Stamp and Stencil. Everything's coming up roses. I won't be using the stencil, just the stamp. And then I'm going to pull the Happy Mother's Day stamp from the Maker Forte and Alex Siberia Hello Spring layering stamp set. This is the Maker Forte 110-pound heavyweight cover slimline card base, and I'm going to use some Arches hot press watercolor paper. We're going to make a mini slimline card. And then I've got some clear embossing powder, some clear Color Hive ink, and then a selection of pinkies and reds that we're going to use. So, I end up using Bubble Tea, Tiptree Jam, Flamingo, and Telephone Box. So I'm going to place my piece of watercolor paper into my MISTI. And because this is a white rubber stamp, I'm going to take my mouse pad out and I'm going to treat this with some anti-static powder. This is kaolin clay powder, so you don't need a fancy tool to use that. Just purchase some kaolin clay powder and use a clean powder brush to apply to your cardstock and your watercolor paper. So I'm going to ink this up twice and use my smoosher tool to stamp my image. I only do it twice. I probably should have done it 3 times, and honestly, my embossing powder could be on the edge of going bad because I don't get a great impression when I heat set it. But it's still okay because it still looks kind of cool. So I just went with it and kept right on going. Now I heat set that off camera till it was smooth and melted, and you can see it's nice and shiny. Now I'm taking some Hubble shimmer spray that we made a few videos back, and that is their kaleidoscope powder, and I smushed down some Bubble Tea ink and spritzed that with the kaleidoscope shimmer spray that we made in Hubble. And now in between each smushing, I'm going to use my heat tool to quickly dry it. It doesn't have to be totally dry, but you do want it to be dry to be able to pick up extra layers. Now I'm coming in with Flamingo, and you'll see that emboss resist as I add the darker colors. And what I like about going through these steps is sometimes this is an experiment for me. And so I have something in my mind and I keep going, but then when I go through and edit my videos, I can see each stage and where next time maybe I would have stopped. Whereas when I'm filming, I just keep going with my project at hand. So here I could have stopped because it's a nice soft pink, but I wanted to experiment with the other colors to see, so I just kept going. So each time I dry the panel in between each smushing, and I always add more of my shimmer Hubble spray that I created from the kaleidoscope powder. And sometimes I spritz my watercolor paper and then smush down so that I have extra moisture on my paper, or sometimes I just spritz the color and smush it in and I'm good to go. And so here I'm coming in with the previous one was the Telephone Box. This one here is Tiptree Jam. And so I'm just kind of filling in all the spots to get some variation in color. And so I didn't have this filmed, I'm sorry, but I'm showing you here that I just used an iron with a piece of copy paper and ironed off that embossing powder. And here I'm just trimming down that slimline card base to a mini slimline, so it measures 6 by 7. And here I was going to do some stamping. So there's a couple things that are great with this particular technique. You can re-stamp over it, and which is what I'm doing with some Eclipse black ink, but it didn't actually stand out as much. If the stamp was a little bit bigger, it probably would have been a lot easier to see. So I instead went and made some I had some scrap strips of heavyweight cardstock, so here I'm just layering those 3 together. But the other thing you can do is you can die cut with it, and you're not going to ruin your embossing, you know, when you go and die cut it. So another thought I had was to do the eclipse technique with some larger alphabet dies that spell out the word mom. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this particular technique. I just kept it pretty simple in today's video. So I did trim this down so we have a little 1/8 of an inch border and matted it on a piece of black cardstock. And here is my sentiment strip, and I'm just going to put that right over top of my initial stamping. And then I will take this over to my big guillotine trimmer and clip that off right on the edge, and then apply it to my card base. And that's going to finish it up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Be sure and check the description box below, and head on over to our Facebook group for Maker Forte and share your projects with us. We'd love to see what you guys are creating. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video.